Alrighty, guys, we are back. It's your boy EQ, and up next we have how bad was Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Very bad actually. This is a fight that I was pretty much against the whole time. Obviously, this has the internet up in arms with all sorts of opinions on the fight. Yeah, man. At the end of the day, this guy shouldn't have been in the ring. Tyson is definitely one of my favorite fighters of all time. For me, definitely the most entertaining. I think the only person that could probably compare as far as entertainment would be like Ali, because Ali was always great, not just in the ring, but outside of the ring as well. And yeah, man, it's just sad to see a lot of people saying that basically Mike Tyson took it easy on Jake. That wasn't the case at all. A lot of people were definitely swayed by 3 minutes of training footage. And honestly, if somebody's training over 6 months, it's not that hard to get 4 minutes where you look really, really good. It's almost like people only tuned in for this fight and really didn't know some of the behind the scenes stuff, which weren't really behind the scenes. Very documented. He had some health issues earlier this year. He was seen in a wheelchair coming off a plane. And to me, a lot of it does seem like maybe he has some balance issues. And a lot of that was definitely visible during the fight. How he was moving. Just look at his eyes, guys. And there's a lot of people basically saying that it was just him taking it easy on Jake. I don't think that was the case. As far as rigging, yeah, that fight should have probably been over in the first round. But obviously Jake saw what everyone else saw. And I feel like if he would have like hurt Tyson or if he would have knocked him out, probably be the only thing that could make him more hated than he already is. So I think it was a smarter move and just like basically turning it into a sparring match and just going from there. But yeah, man, Mike could have really got hurt. I don't think a lot of people really understand that. In the beginning, it did seem like a storyline ripped out of a Rocky movie. But guys, this is reality. If I had to compare this to another sport, maybe like let's just say baseball, if you were to take a 58-year-old Hall of Famer and put him up against a single A like minor leaguer right now, I don't think that Hall of Famer would do so great, you know? So while we may love these athletes, we still have to be grounded in reality. Like, guys, Father Time is undefeated. Prime Mike Tyson, man, there'd be no discussion. The dude would have took out Paul as fast as the bell rang. This wouldn't have been a challenge whatsoever. But obviously, we take the fact that Mike Tyson is basically a senior citizen fighting against Paul, which, yeah, he was a YouTuber, but we have to remember the dude has been training for like 8 years. So I know he's very, very hated, but at a certain point, you got to call it how you see it. And yeah, he's an all right boxer. For me, I think he's very middle of the road. He's not going to go on to win any major titles, you know, maybe a regional title here or there and like an average 500 record if he were to go and fight just professional active fighters. Because he's fought a few boxers that were totally past their primes. He fought this one guy who was a Golden Glove winner, but the caveat was the guy hasn't been active in like 5 years. So it obviously isn't going to give you the validation that you're seeking from like the boxing heads. We do have to give credit where credit is due. And yeah, man, the guy has worked pretty hard and he's all right, you know? And I think it was definitely in his best interest to not pummel Mike like he probably could have. You know, it would have made you look crazy. But enough dilly dallying. Let's jump right into the video and let's just see just how bad was Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Shout out to Cloister for the video. And yeah, man, it's definitely something that was sad to watch. I just don't like the fact that people are saying Mike Tyson was taking it easy on Jake. I feel like a lot of those people are definitely just casual people that don't understand fight sports, period. Like, dude, at 58, there's no way anyone could have possibly thought other than like giving Mike the puncher's chance because, yeah, he does still have power. So I'm pretty sure that's why the first round went the way it did and the second as well. Like, Jake was trying to like gauge it. But yeah, it definitely was rigged in the fact that he let that fight go on way longer than it probably should have.
Alright fellas, well that basically just went as expected. We just saw Mike Tyson return to the ring against Jake Paul in their highly anticipated bout. In my last video, I talked about how we all needed to come back down to reality a bit, and I think that's exactly what we saw here. A reality check. In what was a perfect case study in effective marketing, we saw a bloke.
Of course, like I said, Mike Tyson is one of the most entertaining athletes, period, of all time. The dude could sell a fight. And Jake is obviously good at selling fights because he's been able to prop up opponents that are basically tomato cans and make a lot of money off of it, which is crazy that he is probably the biggest draw in boxing now. The only other person that could probably rival his money right now is Canelo, which is crazy to say for the sport. And also like where it stands today. It's honestly amazing how they were able to sell this fight, given the fact that there were so many reasons that this fight shouldn't have happened.
Who, although I would give him his flowers for getting in there, shouldn't have been
Courageous.
in the ring at all. It was a disgrace that this fight was actually sanctioned by a professional body. So I want to talk about the fight week, the fight itself, and really where do we go from here? What an event like this means for boxing. And just before we get into that, if you love everything boxing, you've found yourself in the right place.
Tyson's.
I'm Cloister and I make boxing videos to help keep you in the loop, so make sure to subscribe to always stay informed. The fight between Jake and Tyson I don't think will be remembered for the fight, more so as a masterclass in marketing. Everyone, including myself, was excited to see Tyson get back in the ring, yet the concept of reality and time seems...
See, right here, it's like people almost forgot that this happened literally not too long ago. 2 months ago. Yeah, man, he shouldn't have been in the ring at all. And I feel like for the fact of just pure entertainment and just the drama, people like prop this fight up. I'm pretty sure if people really voice their concerns, especially during this time, maybe this fight just gets scrapped altogether. And this fight honestly only really happened because Tommy Fury pulled out of the fight, which honestly shows you where Jake Paul stands as a fighter. He's an average fighter, you know what I mean? He's not going to be like a Hall of Famer, but he's average. But he's obviously really good at marketing, and I do give it up that the rest of the card is filled with like legitimate boxers with some serious talent. Some who got robbed, like Amanda Serrano.
Seemed to evade quite a few. In the lead up for the fight, we all saw the clips of Tyson. It was the smart thing to do, record and cut up 15-second clips of pad work and sparring to make him look like the Mike of old.
Short burst.
It brings a lot of eyes and it brings hope. And I think going into fight week,
he looks great, man.
The narrative that we were being fed might not be so true. When uploading my last video, I had the upload screen on one page and the public workouts on the other. In watching the public workouts, I think that was when what a lot of us feared really rung home. After a minute of pad work, Tyson looked tired and out of breath. No amount of gasping from his coach could convince us otherwise. It was clear the footage we were seeing didn't match up with reality. At the next press conference...
Of course, like I said, when you've been training for months, it's not very hard to cut up 2 minutes worth of footage to make it look like you're the best athlete on the planet. And this guy obviously knows his boxing. His technique is obviously great. He's a Hall of Famer, the youngest champion still to this date at 20 years old. So yeah, he obviously knows boxing, but we still have to remember that he's 58 and he's been suffering from some health issues. The way he was walking in and the way his eyes looked, I'm no doctor, but it almost seems like he had some type of like balance issues. It kind of showed itself in the fight when he was moving around too. Like, it was depressing seeing him in there, especially given how much I really do love Tyson as a fighter.
Tyson looked out of it and not interested, which fair enough, the bloke's been doing media for the last couple months, I think most of us would be too. The weigh-ins showed both of them in good enough shape and of course brought that iconic slap, which was nice to see but didn't really mean nothing except producing probably the best photo from the whole event. And then that brought us to fight night. I won't talk too much about the undercard and let me know if you want to see any in-depth videos about any of the other fights.
Undercard was good,
Yet
guys.
My highlights of the whole event were the 2 fights before the main event. Ramos put up a great
Barrios
performance against
Ramos.
Barrios, pushing the fight to a draw. A great fight for the fans, which I hope will see a rematch. While also the co-main, which truly should have been the main event.
Serrano got robbed. Taylor was really, really good, but Serrano threw over 100 more punches, was more efficient. It was just that cut. That cut definitely convinced the judges. But I feel like if you're judging a match, especially at the championship level, you should be able to minimize the significance of the cut because it was due to a headbutt, which is something that Taylor has definitely been known for doing. They brought up the fact that, yeah, like multitude of other fighters have also suffered their first cut because of the way she leads with her head. And according to Serrano's coach, she got a big dome.
Taylor versus Serrano 2 brought all the action. In what was the best fight that you could make currently in women's boxing? I would say close result yes, robbery no. Personally, I would have had Serrano up by a round, but you look at some of the fan scoring on BoxRec, even they have it as a draw. Yet the commentators were simply horrendous, making it seem like Katie lost every single round in the way they called it a...
But when you get hit with 100 more punches, especially the power punches, it just, obviously the aesthetics definitely played a huge factor, I think, when it came down to that.
Robbery. They simply undermined her victory. You can't expect much more. They're MVP commentators and Serrano is MVP's pride and joy. MVP, of course, being the promotional company putting on the show. But no matter how you have it, it was simply a win for women's boxing and boxing as a whole,
though.
Unlike the main event. In my last video, I talked about how I'd be looking at Tyson's balance from the get-go, and I think that told the whole story. Jake in the first couple rounds was incredibly cautious because obviously he didn't know what sort of Tyson was going to come out.
1000%. You still got to respect the man's power because that's the last asset in fighting that really goes. You're going to lose a step. You're going to lose a bunch of other steps before you lose that power. And you have to respect it, especially coming from somebody like Mike Tyson who has one-hit knockout power. And yeah, he's proved it so many times to the tune of 44 KOs.
It was clear though when Jake hit him with a couple punches, he almost stumbled.
Yeah.
His legs simply weren't there anymore. The Paul camp really from this point played politics. They probably had a few different game plans going in. If Tyson was going to come out and actually fight, they would have put it on him. Yet if he came out looking not so great, they had a plan for that also. Although it was Jake's mission to become the most hated man in the sport again, knocking out this Mike Tyson would have been more of a PR disaster than it was.
Bro, knocking him out and potentially hurting Mike Tyson, the threats would probably rein in if that were the case. He's already one of the most unlikable people right now. But yeah, hurting Mike Tyson, guys, we got to remember, like, things can go wrong. There's countless stories of boxers getting hit and it changes their life forever, you know? The thing I'm most glad about is that he was able to walk out of the ring healthy. But yeah, man, so many things could have definitely went wrong. Early on, especially, you could see in a lot of the clinching, they were definitely talking to each other, and he was probably letting them know, hey, we're going to adjust the game plan. But the rigging I saw was the fact that they extended this fight to make it go the distance. Because if Jake really wanted to, he could have really ended it in the first. And I do feel like his respect of Mike Tyson is real. I don't see him trying to go out and prove a point by knocking this guy out, who obviously shouldn't have even been in there in the first place.
Not all attention is good attention at that
Exactly.
level. Tyson's movement was gone. He didn't have the ability to angle or close the distance.
Somebody tell Drake that.
He stayed stationary and threw a couple shots whenever Jake got close. A lot of people were questioning also why he was biting his gloves. It was simply instinct, as he used to do it. It was a bit more normal though when he followed up with a few punches. Not as normal when he's just standing there eating his gloves. It's a credit to Tyson for him getting back in the ring, although the questions and fingers have to be pointed to everyone which allowed this to happen. You have to give Jake Paul some props for not being stupid enough to knock him out, but surely everyone who said that this Tyson looked amazing in sparring was lying through their teeth. Like
I said, most people that said that he was going easy on Jake obviously saw only a few seconds on some Instagram post. I don't really think they did any deep diving or just look into the facts of what's been going down with Tyson over the past year. Obviously, even Roy Jones said, yeah, his legs, which basically means his balance, didn't even look the same as they did 4 years ago when they fought. And honestly, in that fight, Mike really put the beats on Roy, man. He could have went a lot harder, but I think he chose to not go for the headshots because they had agreed on that beforehand. But yeah, man, this is obviously a different Tyson, man. The dude is going through some health stuff. So to parade him in there, I'm just glad, like this guy said too, that Jake used some type of discernment and chose, you know what, let's just turn this into some type of sparring match. He definitely held back, and honestly, for his own good as well.
Tyson's career, were the people who were enabling this just there to get their payday? I'll let you decide. Where do we go now though? Let's first talk Tyson. Simply, I don't want to see him back in the ring ever again. He said he feels like he's got more in the tank after the fight, and to be honest, anyone would feel that after the check he just got. Although nobody wants to see him in there with someone like Logan Paul. Also, in the post-fight interview, Logan could have been just a bit humble when Mike said
he could have, especially after they all saw the same things we saw, and they saw it right in person. Let's be a little more amicable. You should have just said something like, you know what, man, it sounds like a great idea, we'll see, and then just never bring it up and never really take it seriously. But the fact that he said, I'll delete you, is crazy. You know what I mean? Especially given the fact that Jake really was showing a lot of respect. Some people are pointing out the fact that he kind of left him hanging, but I just honestly think that he didn't see Mike's hand out, because when he saw it the second time, he did shake his hand. And obviously, during a fight, you don't want to go and shake the guy's hand and he just gets one shot in on you, a la Floyd Mayweather, you know, where he knocked out, what was it, Ortiz? When Ortiz put his hands down because he thought, I guess, the round was over. Definitely a douchebag move from Logan.
He's next. Yet in classic Logan fashion, he just can't resist being a bit of a prick. If Tyson wants to fight again, it has to be something closer to the Roy Jones exhibition, where it's him versus someone similar in age and it's just a bit of fun. Nothing with true serious potential consequences.
He smashed on Roy.
But preferably, I just want to see him healthy, not in the ring and enjoying his life with his family. For Jake though, it's a bit more interesting. Although this was a huge event, I don't think this raises his stock at all. Where he turns next will certainly be
pretty much a net zero. I don't think he gained or lost. The only thing he gained was a fat payday, obviously. He made $40 million and Tyson made 20.
Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if he enters the PFL and has an MMA fight. Probably the biggest check he could get, and it would give some time for people to forget about this fight. In terms of other boxing opponents, there's not too many out there. There's not really any MMA fighters left. No one wants to see him against a journeyman, and I don't think anyone would want to see him in the ring against another retired fighter again.
It would have to be a more even matchup. Dana really isn't letting any of the active guys really go fight you. He's been fighting people that have kind of been out the UFC for a bit. The journeyman, he's fought like 4 of them, and those barely move the needle. If he really wants to accomplish that goal he said he has for himself, which is win a legitimate belt, he's gonna have to start fighting some of the lower ranked guys just to start moving up the ladder, to get to that point. In his head, he might just think that because of his name and the draw that he is, he'll be able to just get a straight championship match off the bat. I think that would be a terrible move because if you go and do fight somebody like a Canelo, which you kind of been calling out, I don't think it's going to go really well for you because guess what? That guy is active right now, and you're probably not getting out, let's just say, the second round with that type of guy. We'll see how he pivots next, but yeah, this was definitely not a great look other than the fact that, yeah, he did show some decency by not going full out on Tyson and potentially hurting him.
There are only a few possibilities that immediately come to mind. Of course, you have KSI and Tommy Fury, although rumour on the street is that they're going to rematch soon, and if that happens, both parties are off the table.
At least for like
those
6
fights
months to
have
a
been
year.
historically almost borderline impossible to make anyway. You have MVP stableman Niraj Goyat, who is on the undercard, yet Niraj is fighting at 164 pounds, and after his performance, no one wants to see that. MVP should be smart enough to look at that performance and go, nah, that's not it. What I think there's some potential in is a matchup against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Jake will drop down to cruiserweight or bridgerweight. Chavez is technically active although washed up, and it would be framed as Paul is finally versing a real boxer. And in this world of boxing, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow it's for a bridge.
He's faced real boxers, just they haven't been active in a very, very long time.
Bridgerweight world title. The belt organizations love their sanctioning fees, and that would make them a lot of money in a division which is bringing none. But to end this off though, this was far from a glamorous performance at the end of the day. Reality struck, and although it didn't end as badly as many of us were bracing for, I think it needs to be questioned, how did this fight pass so many checks to actually happen? Obviously, people knew that Tyson wasn't truly fit to fight a professional fight, and why did they allow this to happen?
Got delayed for a
I hope there isn't
reason.
going to be too much of a revisionist history take on the fight, yet I know many who were peddling a false narrative which they knew deep down wasn't right and were misleading their audience probably will. Yet, I guess that's what you gotta kinda expect. Anyways, I want to now hear what you think about this fight as a whole.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it was definitely biased by a lot of nostalgia. I mean, Mike is definitely iconic. Iron Mike during his peak, his prime, unstoppable. He put fear into the eyes of all his opponents, and he was doing it at 19 years old. So yeah, man, the dude to me is a freaking legend. His press conferences are probably the greatest press conferences of all time. Definitely the most unique, and a lot of people have definitely been influenced and inspired by him. But still, this fight should have never happened. People took those few clips that they put out and they definitely ran with it. But like I said, when you're training that long, it's not that hard to be able to piece together a few minutes of you looking great. I've had friends say that, hey, if Mike doesn't win, then it's definitely rigged. It's definitely rigged, and he's throwing the match. That wasn't the case at all. Mike just couldn't compete, and that's not because he wasn't great or isn't great. He's just, fam, he's way past his prime, and the dude's going through some health stuff. So yeah, man, I do hope the guy is healthy. I'm happy that he got his payday. This was his biggest payday ever, and it's dope to see him get his money because he was definitely scammed by people like the likes of Don King, infamous scammer. And everyone has a right to their opinion, but yeah, I'm gonna stick with the fact that yeah, most of those people are really just looking at it from a surface level. They're not really delving deep into what's actually going down, because most people would have seen that yeah, he was going through some serious health stuff, which is why they moved the fight in the first place. And honestly, I do think it's time we give Jake some type of credit. The dude is all right. He's an all right boxer, which is why he's able to do what he's been doing. Because people definitely talk like they can go in the ring and beat him up, which is crazy. It's just definitely not the outcome that I wanted to see. I mean, we all have hope at the end of the day, but reality is reality, and Father Time, like I said, is undefeated. So it wasn't really surprising to me at all, man. I'm happy he got his money, and I'm glad Jake didn't push the gas on the fight, because it could have went terribly wrong for honestly both of them. Mike, you're a legend, man. We fucking love you, man. You're freaking crazy. And I just hope you're healthy, because yeah, some of that balance stuff did worry me a little bit. But definitely let me know what you guys think. How bad do you guys think this fight was? Do you guys think it should have happened at all? I don't think so, man. As soon as that health scare came up, I feel like Jake should have probably canceled it. But yeah, man, right now there isn't really too many fights that could possibly get this type of attention. Because like I said earlier, he's had a few fights and they honestly didn't get any buzz at all. And yeah, he was looking for something that would generate a little more buzz. And they definitely accomplished that in this fight. There's 70,000 people at the arena, which is freaking crazy. And on top of that, obviously, it did huge numbers on Netflix. They just have to figure out their whole server situation, because the countless amount of buffering was definitely something that probably took us all out of it, you know? And given the fact that they are trying to delve more into sports and live programming, it's definitely something that they should take into account. You should have expected this type of reaction over this. But yeah, man, hopefully they get it together. But like I said, definitely let me know how bad you guys think this fight was and if it should have occurred at all. Man, it was depressing, man. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button, guys. It does the channel wonders. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are freaking amazing. Channel's doing dope. And honestly, it's all thanks to you guys. Hope you guys love the video, and I hope to see you soon. And Logan, fam, you gotta learn how to read a room, bro. I know a lot of it is because you WWE right now, and you kind of have to like play up to your character, but bro, come on, man, do a temperature check, fam.